Previously, and by that I mean my last review of Persona 4, I talked about adaptations and how they should be able to stand apart from their source material. This is an opinion I have gained after watching many different anime, specifically from the ones that are adapted from manga, which is to say, well, most of them. The worst offenders in my mind, though, are those that finish with what I refer to as a read the manga ending. Tying into my rule of how the ending of any show is paramount, a read the manga ending is when the show doesn't really end so much as just stop. And if you want to know more, you have to, well, read the manga. And that is really frustrating for someone like me who has the mindset of, if I'm gonna have to read the manga anyway, why even bother watching the anime in the first place? Now, while I have learned to accept read the manga endings as inevitabilities at this point, and while I don't necessarily accept or agree with them, I have never before seen a show that has a read the manga middle section, which is when a part of the story is cut out so that the show can skip over some so-so arcs in order to get to something a little more interesting. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcata, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today we return to the series known as The World God Only Knows, with its third season, The Goddess Arc. Let's jam! So for those of you who have never watched my previous review of The World God Only Knows, which, by the way, you probably should, here's a brief summary. Katsuragi Keima, a self-proclaimed god of 2D dating game Conquest, accidentally makes a contract with the demon Elsie to help her capture loose souls that have hidden themselves in the hearts of girls that happen to live within close proximity of him. Each new character arc has him comparing his conquest target with those of similar personality traits from games, and using the games as a template to follow the path that will make those female characters fall in love with him in order to release the loose soul. Now, the interesting twist that The World God Only Knows brought to the table in comparison to other harem series is that at the end of any given character arc, that particular girl would forget everything that had transpired with the release of the loose soul. This left our main character Keima with the freedom to pursue other female characters in future arcs without fear that one of the past female characters will come back with jealousy in their eyes and pull a School Days. The Goddess Arc takes place after the first two seasons and two OVAs, wherein the game has changed considerably. Instead of continuing with the rather formulaic arc setup, the Goddess Arc has Keima backtracking to previous girls for whom he had already completed conquests for in order to attempt to revive and power up several goddesses of heaven who have hidden themselves in those girls. He does this because beings from hell are attempting to revive the old ways, which means massive death and destruction to the universe, and only the goddesses from heaven can stop it. And what do these goddesses need to power themselves up for battle? Why, the power of love, of course! And who better than Keima to give them that love? One problem, though. The goddesses' power allows the girls to remember certain things. Like perhaps the original Conquest, in which a certain boy may or may not have told them that he loved them, that he would do anything for them, blah blah blah, you know. Typical dating sim dialogue, which, you know, kind of throws a wrench into Keima's usual pattern of doing things. So now not only does he have to reconquer some of his previous marks, but he can't let the others know that he's doing it, or else they will think that he is a two-timing asshole and all his progress in giving the goddesses power will be lost. Now, on the one hand, I believe that this is a brilliant continuation and twist to an already well-written and thought-out series. On the other hand, it does one particular thing that I am not a major fan of. In order to get to this new and much more interesting arc, others had to be skipped over, mainly because they still had the same formula of the previous seasons, and had those arcs been for characters that were never mentioned again, I could forgive them because, it's not necessary knowledge. Except they skipped over a few of the girls who are quite prominent in the Goddess arc, which pisses me off because, as someone who has not read the manga, I have no idea who these characters are, nor what their previous relation with Keima was like, beyond some quick recap that the show does in an attempt to fix the situation. And while that did help, I still felt this emptiness, because I knew that I was missing something, and it was that something that nagged at me the entire series. And after all of that, what do we get? A read the manga ending. Sure, it is possible that we might get another set of episodes in a few seasons. That could potentially happen. But statistically, we are incredibly lucky that we have gotten as much as we have. So, to ride the wave of hope, to say that, oh yeah, there'll totally be another series, especially given the fact that at the ends of season 1 and 2, they specifically stated, see you next season, which didn't happen this time around, I'm less hopeful. Now, if we do, great, but if we don't, it's rather disheartening. This is one section that's going to be quite a bit shorter than usual. As far as animation goes, everything is more or less identical in terms of style and quality from the previous seasons. There are moments of brilliance where the animators pull a lot of stops for a particular scene, and also where you know they have saved a lot of money by using flashbacks from the previous seasons. But hey, saving money is good, because then you can make the final episode look goddamn amazing, and not just a bunch of squiggly lines. Yes, I was talking about Evangelion. Yes, I'm still bitter. Anyways, in terms of sound, well, firstly, we don't have a dub. Heck, I don't even think that this series has been licensed as I am sitting here saying these words. Which leads me to believe that the possibility of getting this particular season licensed was dependent on the sales of the first 2 seasons, which, since this season has yet to be licensed, quite possibly didn't do as well as Sentai Filmworks had hoped. Not too much to add in terms of music either, because the one great thing about a continuing season to an already existing show is that in order to keep the same theme, you're able to skimp a little bit and reuse music from the previous seasons, which this series did a lot. And it is smart, because, you know, you keep the tone, and everything's cool, and then you save some little more money on not having to make as much new music. That's cool. Just kind of sucks for me, because basically the same music. The opening was cool though, continuing the tradition of English lyrics and catchy music. My favorite part of it though was probably the last few seconds. Yeah. My entire opinion on this season boils down to something very simple. If you enjoyed the previous 2 seasons and, you know, the 2 OVAs that came between it, you will probably like this. If the cliffhanger non-endings at the end of season 1 and 2 never bothered you, you will probably like this. If you enjoy watching an animated adaptation of a manga you have already read, you will probably like this. If you reverse any of those last few statements, however, you will, like me, probably have some problems with this continuation. The premise behind the series was great, and the characters were amazing, but it's that big, gaping hole / elephant in the room of missing plot that really drags it down. Because of that, I couldn't enjoy this season as much as I was hoping to, which is a real shame, because The World God Only Knows is on like a short list of mine of shows that I can rewatch a lot without many problems. And by short list, I mean it's a very short list. And so, with all of that in mind, I've meticulously calculated values for the categories of story, characters, animation, sound, and my own personal enjoyment, which, after something goddesses, has me awarding The World God Only Knows Season 3 Goddess Arc with an overall score of 6.92 out of 10, and a recommendation to stream it rather than buy. As much as I like the series and think that you should watch the first 2 seasons, you can take your time with this one, probably until you've read the manga, which is something I hope I never have to recommend again. At the time of this video, the Goddess Arc is unlicensed in North America, however, it is still available for streaming legally from Crunchyroll along with the first 2 seasons. The only downside of this fact is that Crunchyroll does not offer the 2 OVAs that take place between seasons 2 and 3, one of which is extremely important in terms of plot, so you'll need to see that elsewhere unfortunately, but otherwise they have you covered. And if you click on the link in the description, glassreflection.net/Crunchyroll, you can be redirected to a free trial of Crunchyroll's premium services and all the anime awesomeness that it contains. For alternate anime recommendations, well, to be honest, there isn't much that has the same general plot structure as The World God Only Knows, but if you're looking for something in a close vein comedy-wise, minus the overarching story, try out Lucky Star. And if you want something a little more serious about a closeted nerd, then there is no better recommendation than Welcome to the NHK. Between these two, you should hopefully find something to your liking. And that's it from me. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video, follow me on Twitter if you feel so inclined, and until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.